What if everything you remember never actually happened? The Mandela Effect is a phenomenon where large groups of people recall events, names, or facts differently from reality. Could it be false memories? Or is there something deeper, parallel universes, glitches in reality? Before we dive in, subscribe now and open your mind to one of the strangest mysteries of human perception. The Mandela Effect. Imagine remembering something so vividly that you would swear it was true, only to find out that it never happened, or at least, not in the way you remember. You're not alone. Across the world, thousands, even millions, of people share identical false memories, convinced that reality is different from what history and evidence claim. This strange and unsettling phenomenon is called the Mandela Effect, named after a widespread false memory that Nelson Mandela died in prison in the 1980s, something that never happened. But why do so many people remember the same things incorrectly? Is it just a failure of human memory? Or is reality itself more fragile than we think? It starts innocently enough. You remember something line from a movie, a logo, the spelling of a brand, and then one day you see it again and realize it's not the way you thought. Wait, wasn't it Berenstain Bears? Didn't Pikachu have a black tip on his tail? Wasn't there a movie called Shazam with Sinbad as a genie? But no matter how strongly you believe it, the evidence says otherwise. And yet, so many others remember it the same way you do. The sheer number of people who recall the same wrong details makes it hard to believe it's just a personal mistake. It feels bigger than that, like a glitch in reality itself. That's where the theories begin. Some say the Mandela Effect is proof that we are living in a simulation, where small details get rewritten, like errors in a computer program. Others believe it is evidence of parallel universes colliding, where alternate timelines bleed into our own, leaving traces of different versions of history imprinted in our minds. Could it be that somewhere, in another reality, things really were the way we remember them? That in another timeline, Mandela did die in prison? Or that the Monopoly man really did wear a monocle? It's an unsettling thought, the idea that reality might not be as fixed as we assume, that history itself might shift beneath our feet without us realizing. But maybe the truth is even stranger. Maybe reality hasn't changed at all. Maybe it's just our minds. Memory is not a perfect recording of the past. It's a reconstruction, shaped by emotions, expectations, and influences from the world around us. When we remember something, we don't retrieve a perfect file from our brain, we rebuild it. And in the process, we introduce distortions. And when many people are exposed to the same influences, the same cultural references, the same subtle mistakes that get passed around, false memories spread like wildfire. A simple error becomes collective truth. The Mandela Effect forces us to question something we take for granted, or perception of reality. If we can't even trust our own memories, then what else might be wrong? How much of what we know is actually real? And how much is just an illusion created by our minds? It's unsettling to think about. The idea that our past, our experiences, even our very identity, might be built on unreliable memories. But perhaps, in some strange way, the Mandela Effect is also comforting. It reminds us that we are not alone in our misremembering, that the gaps and distortions in our minds are not failures, but part of what it means to be human. It shows us how connected we are, how our minds can sync up in strange and unexpected ways, weaving a shared reality even when that reality is false. As you close your eyes tonight, think about the memories you hold onto so dearly. Are they real? Or are they just stories your mind has rewritten over time? What if, one day, you wake up and realize that something you always believed to be true never actually happened? And if that were the case, would you ever really know? The Boltzmann Brain. Imagine for a moment that everything you know, your life, your memories, even the universe itself, is nothing more than a fleeting, random fluctuation in an otherwise chaotic void. This is the unsettling core of the Boltzmann Brain hypothesis, a thought experiment rooted in both physics and philosophy. The idea stems from Austrian physicist Ludwig Boltzmann's work on entropy, the measure of disorder in a system. In an infinitely expanding universe, where particles endlessly move and collide, the laws of probability suggest that, eventually, random arrangements of matter will momentarily form structures that resemble ordered systems. This could include entire galaxies, planets, and even you. But here's where it gets eerie. The Boltzmann brain theory proposes that it's far more statistically likely for a single, self-aware brain complete with fabricated memories and an illusion of reality to spontaneously pop into existence than for an entire, vast, organized universe like ours to form and sustain itself for billions of years. In other words, you might not be living in a long, shared, evolving reality. You might be a lone, disembodied mind floating in a void, hallucinating everything you perceive from the screen you're watching to the people you love. What's even more unnerving is the fleeting nature of such an existence. If your consciousness is a random quantum blip, it's also likely to vanish just as suddenly as it appeared, taking your entire perceived life with it in an instant. This raises profound philosophical and existential questions. Is reality real, or just a persistent illusion? If our memories can exist without a past, what does that mean for our sense of identity? And if the universe itself is more likely to create isolated, temporary minds than stable, long-lasting worlds, then what does that imply about our place in the cosmos? The Boltzmann Brain paradox forces us to confront the uncomfortable thought that everything we experience, no matter how vivid or meaningful, might be nothing more than a flicker in the endless, indifferent darkness. So, as you drift into sleep tonight, ask yourself, are you truly awake in a vast shared reality? Or is this entire experience the fleeting dream of a lonely, spontaneous brain?
The philosophical zombie. Imagine waking up one day, going about your routine, brushing your teeth, making coffee, scrolling through your phone, but something feels off. You smile at a loved one, but the warmth behind the smile isn't there. You laugh at a joke, but you don't actually find it funny. You go through the motions of life, yet inside you feel empty. Now imagine that you don't even realize you feel this way because you can't. You're a perfect replica of yourself, behaving exactly as you always have, but without any conscious experience. This is the chilling essence of the philosophical zombie, a being indistinguishable from a normal human in every way except one. It lacks inner awareness. The concept forces us to confront an unsettling thought. What if the people around you, your friends, your family, even strangers on the street, are all philosophical zombies? They talk, laugh, cry, and seem to feel pain and joy, but inside, there's nothing. They aren't truly alive in the conscious sense. They're biological machines, acting on instinct and programming, yet utterly devoid of subjective experience. They don't feel sadness or happiness. They only behave as though they do. But it doesn't stop there. The darkest twist is realizing that you might be the zombie and you wouldn't even know it. After all, a philosophical zombie doesn't think it's a zombie. It believes it has a mind, memories, emotions, and free will, even though it doesn't. It's a hollow shell, convincingly imitating a person, but without any awareness of its own emptiness. The idea pokes a hole in our most basic assumptions about reality. We assume that people are conscious because they behave as though they are. But behavior alone doesn't prove the existence of an inner life. A robot programmed to say, "I love you," doesn't actually feel love, it's just following code. What if humans are no different, just infinitely more complex? What if everything you believe about your mind, your thoughts, your fears, your hopes, is nothing more than an elaborate, predetermined performance? This thought experiment ties into one of philosophy's oldest and deepest mysteries, the hard problem of consciousness, the question of why and how physical processes in the brain create subjective experiences. Neuroscience can map brain activity, explain how neurons fire, and show which regions activate during emotions. But no one truly knows why those biological processes give rise to feelings. Why does pain feel like pain? Why does love feel warm and fulfilling? Why is there any inner experience at all, instead of just mechanical reactions? The philosophical zombie forces us to imagine a world where the biology remains the same, where brains function exactly as they do now, but consciousness is completely absent. If such a world is even logically possible, it shakes the foundation of everything we think we know about the mind. It hints that consciousness might not be something that emerges from physical matter at all. It might be something separate, something intangible, or perhaps even an illusion. And here's the most unsettling part. How would you ever prove you're not a zombie? You say you feel things, but so would a zombie. You claim to have memories, but so would a zombie. From the outside, you're no different from a mindless replica. Your insistence that you're conscious is exactly what a philosophical zombie would insist too. As you drift into sleep, let this thought linger in the quiet corners of your mind. What if you wake up tomorrow and everything feels just a little too automatic, a little too rehearsed? Would you notice? Or would you continue on, perfectly functioning, perfectly human, but without ever truly being you again?
The infinite hotel paradox. Imagine a hotel with an infinite number of rooms. It stretches endlessly beyond what the eye can see or the mind can grasp. This hotel has no final room, no last floor. It just keeps going forever. And despite having an infinite number of rooms, every single one is occupied. Not a single vacancy. You walk into the lobby, exhausted from your travels, and ask the receptionist for a room. They smile and say, "Of course, we're full, but we can still make space for you." It sounds impossible. If every room is already taken, how could they possibly fit you in? But in this strange, endless hotel, the rules of reality no longer apply. The receptionist simply asks every guest to move to the next room. The guest in room 1 moves to room 2. The guest in room 2 moves to room 3, and so on, continuing infinitely. Just like that, room 1 is free, waiting for you to step inside. It's bizarre, but it works. Even though the hotel was completely full, it still found space for you. And if 1,000 more guests showed up, no problem, the receptionist could shift everyone again, infinitely creating room for more. Even an infinite number of new guests wouldn't be an issue. The hotel would still expand to hold them all. At first, this feels like a playful thought experiment, a weird, mind-bending puzzle. But the more you think about it, the more unsettling it becomes. Because this paradox isn't really about hotels or rooms. It's about infinity itself, and what infinity means for existence, for reality, and for you. Infinity is comforting when we imagine it as a symbol of endless possibilities, infinite worlds, infinite chances, infinite time. But the infinite hotel reveals a darker side. It exposes how infinity isn't just vast, it's incomprehensible, even unnatural. It breaks the very logic we rely on to make sense of the world. How can something be completely full and still have room for more? How can you add to infinity without changing it? The infinite hotel shouldn't exist. And yet it does. It makes you wonder, is the universe like this hotel? Is reality infinite, stretching forever with no end in sight? And if it is, where do you fit into that endless expanse? If there are infinite versions of you, living infinite lives in infinite worlds, does this life, the one you're living right now, still matter? Or are you just one of countless copies, indistinguishable from all the others? The paradox also forces you to confront a terrifying thought. If infinity can hold everything, it must also hold everything wrong. For every joyful moment you've ever experienced, there's an infinite number of versions where things went horribly wrong, where you never met the people you love, never found happiness, or never even existed. If every possibility happens somewhere in the infinite expanse, what does that mean for free will? Are you truly making choices? Or are you just one variation among countless others, playing out one inevitable path while infinite other yous live out the alternatives? And what about the afterlife? If the universe is infinite, if existence never ends, then maybe death isn't an end, but a doorway to another room in the hotel. Perhaps you wake up somewhere else, in another version of reality, and keep going, endlessly moving from one existence to the next, forever. Would that be a comfort or a nightmare? An eternity where you never stop, never truly rest? The infinite hotel paradox leaves you with more questions than answers. It challenges the very idea of what it means to exist. In a world or a universe where there's always another room, always another version, always more, how do you define yourself? What makes you special when infinity contains every possible version of you? Maybe the answer isn't in fighting the infinity. Maybe it's in embracing the one life you're living now. Because even if infinite versions of you exist elsewhere, they're not here. They're not living this exact moment, with these exact thoughts and feelings. This life, this version of you, is still unique because it's the one you're living. As you drift into sleep tonight, imagine walking down the endless hallway of the infinite hotel. Room after room stretches beyond the horizon, each one holding another possibility, another version of reality. Would you keep moving, hoping to find a better room? Or would you stop, knowing that no matter how vast infinity is, the room you're in right now is the only one that truly feels like home? The spotlight effect. Have you ever walked into a room and felt like all eyes were on you? Maybe you stumbled over your words in a conversation, wore an outfit that felt slightly off, or made a small mistake that you were sure everyone noticed. In that moment, it felt as though a bright spotlight had been turned on you, exposing every flaw, every imperfection, every misstep. But here's the truth. That spotlight only exists in your mind. This is the spotlight effect, the psychological illusion that makes us believe we are being watched, judged, and scrutinized far more than we actually are. It's a cruel trick our brains play on us. We live inside our own heads, constantly aware of our thoughts, our actions, our appearance. Every moment of our existence is experienced through the lens of our own consciousness. So it's easy to assume that others are just as focused on us as we are. But they aren't. They are too busy living inside their own minds, trapped in their own spotlights, worried about their own flaws. The reality is that most people barely notice the things we obsess over. The awkward pauses in our conversations, the mispronounced words, the small stains on our shirts. These things that seem massive to us are barely a blip on anyone else's radar. Yet the spotlight effect can be paralyzing. It makes us afraid to take risks, afraid to step outside of our comfort zones, afraid to be seen as anything less than perfect. We hesitate before speaking up in a meeting because we fear sounding foolish. We avoid dancing at a party because we're sure everyone will judge our moves. We replay past mistakes in our heads, convinced that others remember them just as vividly as we do. But they don't. They've forgotten, moved on, or more like never even noticed in the first place. Think back to a time when someone else made a small mistake in front of you. Maybe they tripped, or their voice cracked while speaking, or they got someone's name wrong. How long did you think about it? A few seconds? A minute? And then your mind moved on, back to your own thoughts, your own concerns. That's how others experience your mistakes too fleetingly, momentarily, before their own spotlight pulls them back in. The most tragic part of the spotlight effect is how much it holds us back. It keeps us from chasing our dreams, from expressing our true selves, from fully living. We avoid pursuing our passions because we fear being judged. We silence our opinions because we worry about sounding foolish. We shrink ourselves to avoid standing out, believing that blending in is safer. But in doing so, we rob ourselves of authenticity, of joy, of connection. And what's worse? We are missing out on the fact that people are often kinder than we assume. While we imagine that others are judging us, they are often empathizing, understanding, or simply not paying attention at all. When we finally let go of the illusion that everyone is watching, we gain the freedom to exist without fear. So what if you make a mistake? So what if you stumble over your words, wear the wrong outfit, or say something awkward? The moment will pass. It will dissolve into the stream of time, forgotten by everyone but you. And when you finally realize that the spotlight was never really there, you will see the world differently, not as a stage where you are being constantly judged, but as a place where you are free to move, to speak, to be. As you close your eyes tonight, think about all the moments in your life that you spent worrying about how others saw you, the chances you didn't take, the things you didn't say, the joy you held back. And then ask yourself, what would your life look like if you stopped believing in the spotlight? If you lived as though no one was watching, no one was judging, no one was keeping score? Would you be freer? Would you be happier? Would you finally step into the light not as something to fear, but as something to embrace? The Fermi Paradox. Look up at the night sky. Thousands of stars twinkle back at you, each one a sun to its own system of planets. And beyond those stars, millions more galaxies stretch endlessly into the void. The universe is vast, unimaginably vast, with more planets than grains of sand on Earth's beaches. The numbers are staggering. Statistically speaking, life should be everywhere. Intelligent civilizations should be abundant. And yet, there's only silence. No signals, no visitors, no signs. This is the Fermi Paradox, the haunting contradiction between the high probability of extraterrestrial life and the overwhelming emptiness we observe. It feels wrong, doesn't it? The universe is too big, too old, too full of potential for us to be alone. Our galaxy alone contains over 100 billion stars, many with planets in the Goldilocks zone, not too hot, not too cold, just right for life. If even a tiny fraction of those worlds developed intelligent civilizations, the galaxy should be teeming with life. We should see bustling interstellar highways, alien messages, maybe even a cosmic neighborhood filled with civilizations older and wiser than ours. And yet, nothing, not a whisper. The skies remain eerily quiet. The silence is deafening. It feels like we're staring into an endless abyss, calling out and hearing nothing but our own echo. It makes you wonder, where is everyone? There are possibilities, each one more unsettling than the last. Maybe life is rare, unimaginably rare. Perhaps the conditions that gave rise to us were a cosmic lottery win, a 1 in a trillion chance that may never happen again. It's a humbling, even lonely thought that we might be an anomaly, a fragile flame flickering alone in a cold, dark universe. Or maybe life isn't rare, but intelligent civilizations are. Perhaps life sprouts everywhere, but intelligence is a deadly fluke. Dinosaurs ruled Earth for 165 million years without building spaceships. What if intelligence is an evolutionary dead end, a freak accident that burns brightly but briefly before collapsing under its own weight? Maybe most life stays simple, content to exist without asking the big questions. And then there's a darker thought, one that gnaws at the edge of our imagination. What if intelligent civilizations do arise, but they don't survive? Maybe there's a great filter, an invisible wall that stops civilizations from reaching the stars. It could be nuclear war, environmental collapse, or a technology we haven't even discovered yet, something so dangerous that no advanced civilization gets past it. If the great filter is ahead of us, we may be marching toward our own extinction, blissfully unaware. But what if the great filter is behind us? What if life is so hard to start that we've already beaten the odds? If that's true, we might be among the first pioneers in a newborn universe, destined to light the way for civilizations that come after us. And then, a more chilling possibility. What if they're out there, but they're hiding? Maybe advanced civilizations are like predators in a cosmic jungle, staying silent to avoid attracting attention. Perhaps they know something we don't, something terrifying that lurks in the void. What if the universe is quiet not because it's empty, but because everyone is too afraid to speak? Or maybe in this thought stings the most they're not hiding at all. Maybe they see us, hear us, and simply don't care. To them, we might be too primitive, too insignificant to bother with like ants on a sidewalk. What if they're watching, waiting for us to grow up, to prove we're worth talking to? The Fermi Paradox isn't just about aliens. It's about us, about our place in the universe, and what our silence means. Are we alone because life is rare, or because something is keeping civilizations from reaching the stars? Is the silence a warning or an opportunity? As you drift off to sleep tonight, think about the vast, silent cosmos above you. Do you feel comforted, knowing we might be the first, the only, the pioneers? Or does the silence feel heavier now, a reminder that we're a small, fragile spark in an endless, indifferent void? Would you rather believe we're alone, or that something is out there, watching, in the dark? The Barnum Effect. Have you ever read a horoscope and felt like it described you perfectly? Or taken a personality test and thought, yes, that is exactly who I am? There's something almost magical about seeing ourselves reflected in words written by someone else, as if the universe itself is whispering our deepest truths back at us. But what if this feeling of recognition is just an illusion? What if we are not being understood, but simply tricked? This is the Barnum Effect, the psychological phenomenon that makes vague general statements feel deeply personal and uniquely true. It is a beautiful lie we tell ourselves, a trick of the mind that makes us believe in things that were never meant specifically for us. Fortune tellers, astrologers, psychics, they all tap into this effect, crafting statements so broad that anyone can find a piece of themselves within them. You sometimes feel insecure, but put on a brave face for the world. You have a great deal of untapped potential. You crave deep connections, but sometimes struggle with trust. These statements resonate because they are universally human. They feel personal because we make them personal. We interpret them in ways that fit our own experiences, molding their vagueness into something that feels intimate, profound. The Barnum Effect is a mirror that reflects whatever we want to see. It gives us the illusion of self-discovery, when in reality, we are the ones shaping the meaning. It is why so many people believe in astrology, in personality quizzes, in cold readings from supposed psychics. It is why a simple statement on a slip of paper inside a fortune cookie can sometimes leave us staring in wonder, feeling as though destiny has spoken directly to us. But here's the unsettling part: this effect reveals more about us than it does about the world. It shows how eager we are to believe, how deeply we crave understanding, how much we long to feel special. And yet there is something beautiful about this deception. Even if these statements are not truly personal, they still provide comfort. They make us feel seen, even when the words were never really meant for us at all. They remind us that we are not alone in our struggles, that the things we feel, doubt, ambition, loneliness, hope, are things that everyone feels. The Barnum Effect is a trick, yes, but perhaps it is one that we want to believe in, because sometimes the illusion of meaning is enough to give us strength. But what happens when this effect is used against us? When it is not just an innocent fortune cookie or a harmless horoscope, but a manipulation? Businesses, marketers, and even con artists have long understood the power of the Barnum Effect. They use vague but compelling descriptions to make us feel seen. to make us trust, to make us buy. This product is designed for people just like you, those who are ambitious, hardworking, but sometimes feel underappreciated. And suddenly, we feel understood. We feel like this brand, this person, this system gets us. And so we trust, we follow, we buy. The Barnum Effect is everywhere, shaping the way we see ourselves, the way we make decisions, the way we trust. It is why people fall for scams, why cult leaders gain followers, why self-help books feel so profound even when they are filled with generic advice. It is a testament to how much we want to believe that someone, somewhere, understands us completely. But here's the truth. No vague statement, no horoscope, no fortune teller can truly define you. You are not a handful of general traits stitched together to fit a template. You are a contradiction, a complexity, a mystery even to yourself. The depth of who you are cannot be summarized in a paragraph designed to fit anyone and everyone. You are not a prediction in a newspaper column. You are not a personality type on a quiz. You are something far greater, something that cannot be reduced to a few cleverly worded phrases. So tonight, as you let your thoughts drift into sleep, ask yourself, how often have I believed in something just because it made me feel understood? How many times have I seen meaning where there was none? And most importantly, who am I? Beyond the words that others use to describe me? If all the labels were stripped away, if all the comforting illusions were gone, what would remain? The answer is yours to find. The Butterfly Dream Paradox. Imagine waking from a vivid dream, one so real, so immersive, that for a moment you're unsure whether you're truly awake or still dreaming. Your heart is racing. Your mind is clouded with fragments of the dream's world, and reality feels distant, almost unreal. Now imagine that feeling never leaves. Imagine you can no longer tell which life is real, the one you wake up to or the one you dream of. This is the haunting essence of the Butterfly Dream Paradox, a timeless thought experiment that blurs the line between reality and illusion. The paradox comes from the ancient Chinese philosopher Zhuangzi, who once dreamed he was a carefree butterfly, fluttering through the air without a thought or worry in the world. When he woke up, he wasn't sure whether he was a man who had dreamed of being a butterfly or a butterfly now dreaming that he was a man. The question cuts deeper than it first appears. It isn't merely about dreams and waking life. It's about the very nature of existence itself. How can you ever be sure that your current experience is the real one? What if your entire life is just a long, intricate dream, and one day you'll wake up as someone or something else? The Butterfly Dream Paradox taps into a primal fear we all carry, though we rarely acknowledge it. The fear that reality isn't as solid as it seems. We build our lives on the assumption that what we see, hear, and feel is real. We trust our senses, even though they've been proven to deceive us time and again, from optical illusions to false memories. If our senses can be fooled so easily, what if they're fooling us all the time? What if this life, this self, is nothing more than a fleeting illusion? It's unsettling to realize how little control we have over our own perceptions. In dreams, we accept the most absurd scenarios without question. You could be flying through the sky or talking to a long-lost loved one, and it feels completely normal until you wake up. Only then do you recognize how bizarre it all was. But what if you never woke up? What if this life right now is just another layer of the dream, and waking up is still ahead of you? The paradox also raises a deeper, more personal question. Who are you, really? Are you the person you think you are with your name, your memories, your relationships, or is that identity part of the dream too? If Zhuangzi couldn't tell whether he was a man or a butterfly, what does that say about the self? Maybe you're not who you think you are at all. Maybe your entire identity is just another part of the illusion, something your mind created to keep the dream going. This thought leads to an even more disturbing possibility. What if there's no real you at all? What if every layer of reality is just another dream, with no ultimate truth beneath it? It's like peeling an onion, only to find more and more layers, but never a core. The butterfly dream paradox doesn't just challenge the nature of reality, it challenges the existence of the self. If you can't tell whether you're a person dreaming of being a butterfly or a butterfly dreaming of being a person, then who or what are you, really? As you drift off to sleep tonight, let that question settle in the back of your mind. What if, when you wake up tomorrow, you're not waking up at all, you're simply transitioning to the next dream? And what if, one day, you wake up as someone or something else entirely, and this life, this version of you, becomes nothing more than a distant, fading memory? Would you even realize it was happening? Or would you go on believing, just like now, that this reality is the only one that's ever existed? The egg. Imagine, for a moment, that you've just died. It wasn't particularly tragic or extraordinary, just one of the countless, inevitable endings that await us all. As your consciousness fades, you expect nothingness, a quiet, eternal void. But instead, you find yourself standing in an unfamiliar place. Before you, a figure appears. Not a god, not an angel, just someone, calm and kind. They tell you the truth. You're not really dead. Not in the way you think. You're in the afterlife. Yes, but this is only the beginning. You ask what happens next, where you'll go, what you'll become. The figure smiles and explains something that shakes you to your very core. You'll be sent back, not as yourself, but as someone else. In fact, you've already been everyone else. Every person who ever lived, and whoever will, is you. The beggar on the street, the king in his palace, the mother holding her newborn, the child starving in the cold. You've lived all of their lives, one by one. Every act of kindness, every moment of cruelty, every laugh, every tear, you've felt them all. At first, the idea seems impossible. How could you be everyone? How could you live millions, billions of lives? But then you realize something deeper. Time, as you knew it, wasn't real. All those lives weren't happening one after another. They were all happening at once. Each life was another thread in the same grand tapestry, and you were the weaver without even knowing it. The figure explains further. This universe, this reality, was made for you. Not in a selfish, egotistical way, but because you are the universe. Every soul is a fragment of your greater self, experiencing the world from a different angle, learning, growing, suffering, and loving. Each life teaches you something new. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every triumph, they're all steps in a journey towards something greater. You're not just living lives randomly, you're evolving. With every experience, you become wiser, more compassionate, more complete. The moments that once seemed so unfair, the unbearable grief, the senseless cruelty, they take on a new meaning. When you hurt someone, you were only hurting another version of yourself. When you loved someone, you were loving a reflection of your own soul. Every enemy you ever hated, every stranger you ever ignored, was you in another form, living another life. There was never anyone else. It was always just you, learning what it meant to exist from every possible perspective. The figure tells you that eventually, when you've lived every life, when you've been every person, felt every joy, endured every sorrow, you'll be ready to move on, to become something greater than a human, something beyond human. You're not a person, you're an egg, and every life, every experience is a crack in the shell, helping you break free. One day you'll hatch, and when you do, you'll become something beyond comprehension, something like the figure standing before you now. The realization is overwhelming. Every life you've ever touched flashes before you not as strangers, but as pieces of yourself. The bully who tormented you in school, the friend who betrayed you, the parent who loved you unconditionally, all of them were you, living different chapters of the same endless story. And you understand, for the first time, that the cruelty and kindness of the world aren't opposing forces. They're part of the same lesson, guiding you toward empathy and understanding. The figure smiles one last time. You have more lives to live, more lessons to learn. And with that, you're sent back again into a new body, a new life. Maybe you'll be born to wealth, or maybe to poverty. Maybe you'll live a short, painful life, or a long, fulfilling one. It doesn't matter. Every life matters equally, because they're all yours. As you drift into sleep tonight, think about this. The next stranger you meet, the one you smile at, or the one you ignore might just be another version of you, living a different life. And when you wake up, maybe this life you're living now won't feel so small and separate anymore. Maybe you'll realize you were never alone. You've always been everyone. And one day, when you've been all of us, you'll finally understand what it means to truly be whole. The Library of Babel. Imagine a library so vast that it holds every book ever written and every book that could ever be written. Every combination of letters, words, and sentences that could possibly exist fills its endless shelves. In this library, you could find a book that perfectly describes your entire life, from the moment you were born to the second you die. There's a book that reveals your deepest fears, your greatest loves, and every thought you've ever had. There's even a book that holds the answer to the meaning of life, if you can find it. This is the Library of Babel, an idea so profound and unsettling that it forces you to question everything you know about knowledge, truth, and even your own existence. At first, the idea sounds beautiful, a place where all knowledge exists, every truth, every discovery, every solution to every problem humanity has ever faced. It's the ultimate source of wisdom, a temple of answers. But the more you think about it, the more disturbing it becomes. Because while the library holds every truth, it also holds every lie. For every book that accurately describes your life, there are millions filled with falsehoods, books that say you were never born, books that claim you'll live forever, books that end your story tomorrow in a way that never happens. There are books filled with nonsense, just pages of random letters and symbols. Most of the library is noise, an endless sea of meaningless gibberish. You could spend a lifetime searching for the truth and never find it. Even if you stumbled upon a book that seemed to hold the answers, how would you know it was real? How could you trust it, knowing that for every true book, there's an infinite number of false ones that look just as convincing? The truth is there somewhere, but it's buried in an ocean of deception. The library becomes less like a source of knowledge and more like a cruel joke. It doesn't matter that the answers exist if you can never reach them. The sheer scale of the library renders the truth practically unreachable. And that realization is suffocating. It's one thing to not know the truth. It's another thing entirely to know the truth is out there, but be powerless to find it. But the Library of Babel is more than just a thought experiment about knowledge. It's a reflection of life itself. Because isn't that what we're all doing, searching for meaning in an endless, chaotic world? We look for patterns, for signs that tell us who we are and why we're here. We cling to beliefs and stories that make us feel safe. But how do we know they're the truth? How do we know we're not just choosing the book that comforts us the most, even if it's a lie? Maybe that's why the library is so unsettling. It mirrors our deepest fear, that life has no meaning, that it's all just random noise, and we're desperately trying to find a pattern that isn't there. But maybe, just maybe, the library holds a different kind of truth. What if the meaning isn't in the answers, but in the search itself? The library doesn't care what you believe. It doesn't care if you find the right book or spend your life reading gibberish. The library simply exists. Maybe that's the point. Maybe meaning isn't something you find. Maybe it's something you create. Each of us writes our own story, even if the library contains an infinite number of versions. The version that matters is the one you choose to live. As you drift into sleep tonight, imagine wandering the endless corridors of the Library of Babel. Would you keep searching for the truth, knowing you might never find it? Or would you decide that the search itself, the journey, the hope, the moments of clarity is enough? Because in the end, maybe the real truth isn't hidden in a book at all. Maybe it's within you, the only author that ever truly mattered. The experience machine. Imagine standing before a machine, a perfect creation, capable of granting you a life filled with endless pleasure, joy, and fulfillment. This machine, known as the experience machine, offers you a choice. Plug in and leave the real world behind, or walk away and continue your imperfect, unpredictable life. The catch? Once you're connected, you won't know it's a simulation. You'll believe everything is real. Every success, every relationship, every thrill will feel genuine. You could live your dream life, the one you've always wanted but never had. The question is, would you do it? It's tempting, isn't it? Imagine a life without pain, where every moment is tailored to your desires. You could be the world's greatest artist, a celebrated hero, or someone deeply loved and admired. You'd never feel heartbreak, loneliness, or fear again. Every morning would bring a new adventure. Every night would end with satisfaction. It sounds perfect, like paradise on demand. But something holds you back. A nagging voice in your mind whispers, is it still a life if it isn't real? What does real even mean? If you can't tell the difference, does it matter? Happiness is happiness, right? The machine promises endless happiness, the kind the real world rarely offers. So why hesitate? Why cling to a life filled with disappointment, uncertainty, and suffering, when you could have a flawless existence? Maybe it's because, deep down, you know the truth. Real life isn't meant to be perfect. It's messy and painful, but it's also raw and beautiful, in a way that no simulation could replicate. The highs wouldn't feel as sweet without the bitter lows. Love wouldn't feel as powerful if you never feared losing it. Achievements wouldn't matter if they were guaranteed. Part of what makes life meaningful is the struggle, the chance that you could fail, and the triumph when you don't. In the machine, you'd never fail. You'd win every time. But would victory still feel like victory if you never fought for it? If you became a famous musician, but the applause wasn't from real people, just a programmed audience designed to adore you, would the applause mean anything? Would you really feel proud? Or would it be hollow, like winning a race when you're the only one running? And what about the people you love? If you enter the machine, they won't be real anymore. Your friends, your family, your partner, they'd become simulations, copies created to comfort you. They'd say all the right things, but they wouldn't truly be them. It would be an illusion. And maybe that's the most painful part, because love isn't about perfection. It's about choosing someone, flaws and all, and knowing they choose you back, not because they're programmed to, but because they truly want to. The experience machine forces us to confront what we value most. Is life about feeling good? Or is it about being real, no matter how hard reality can be? Would you give up authenticity for eternal happiness? Or does happiness only matter because it's fleeting and hard-earned? Maybe the most haunting thought is this: what if you're already in the machine? What if this life, the one you're living now, is the simulation? Would you want to wake up? Would you fight to escape, even if it meant leaving behind everyone and everything you love? Or would you stay, knowing it's not real, because the illusion feels too precious to let go? As you drift off to sleep tonight, ask yourself, Would you plug into the experience machine? And if you wouldn't, why not? Is it because you fear the machine, or because deep down, you know that even with all its pain, life is worth living because it's real? The Matrix. What if everything you know your entire life, every memory, every sensation isn't real? What if the world you see, the people you love, the very body you inhabit, is nothing more than an illusion? This is the chilling idea behind the Matrix, a theory that forces you to question whether reality itself is a carefully constructed lie. Imagine waking up one day to find that everything you believed was true is nothing more than a digital prison designed to keep your mind occupied while your body remains trapped, powerless, and unaware. The food you taste, the air you breathe, the ground beneath your feet, none of it is real. It's all part of an elaborate simulation, crafted to make you believe in a world that doesn't actually exist. Every smile, every sunset, every moment of happiness or pain, artificial experiences fed to you like a story you never agreed to be part of. The idea sounds like science fiction, but when you really think about it, how can you be sure it's not true? How do you know that what you're seeing, hearing, and feeling is reality? Your brain doesn't experience the world directly. It relies on electrical signals sent from your senses. When you touch something, you're not feeling the object itself. Your nerves send signals to your brain, which interprets the sensation and tells you, yes, this is warm, or this is rough. But what if those signals were manipulated? What if, instead of coming from the outside world, they were fabricated, carefully crafted to simulate an entire existence? Would you be able to tell the difference? The unsettling truth is that you probably wouldn't. After all, your dreams feel real when you're in them. You experience vivid sights, sounds, and emotions, yet none of it exists. You only realize it was fake once you wake up. So, what if you never wake up? What if this life, the one you're living right now, is just another dream, one designed to feel so real that you never question it? The Matrix theory suggests that we might be living in a simulation, created by a higher intelligence perhaps, an advanced civilization, or even our future selves. Maybe they built this world to study us, to entertain themselves, or to keep us pacified while using our bodies for energy. Or perhaps it's more benevolent than that. Maybe this simulated reality is meant to protect us from a world too harsh or broken to endure. Maybe the truth is so horrifying that this illusion is an act of mercy, keeping us comfortable and safe from a reality we couldn't handle. But even if that's true, even if the simulation is kind, doesn't that make it all the more tragic? Because none of it is real. Your victories, your losses, your dreams, your regrets, they're all scripted, pre-programmed events in a world that doesn't exist. The people you love, are they real? Or are they just lines of code, designed to make you feel less alone? And if they are just part of the simulation, does that make your love any less real? The Matrix theory forces you to confront an unbearable thought, that freedom might be an illusion. You believe you're making choices, carving your own path. But what if you're only following a script? What if the feeling of control is part of the simulation? A clever trick to keep you from realizing you're trapped. The truth is, you don't choose to wake up each morning. Your heart beats without you asking it to. Your body heals itself without your permission. How much of your life is truly yours? And here's the most unsettling part. If this is a simulation, does that mean there's a world outside it? If so, what kind of world would need a simulation like this to exist? Is it a wasteland? A dying planet? Or is it something even stranger, a reality so vast and incomprehensible that our human minds couldn't survive it? Maybe this world, this life, was built to protect us from a truth too enormous to grasp. But what if someone wakes up? What if right now, Someone somewhere has broken free from the illusion and is trying to wake the rest of us. Would you even believe them if they told you? Or would you laugh and dismiss them, just like people dismiss dreams when they wake up? As you drift off to sleep tonight, let this question settle in your mind. How would you know if you were in a simulation? Could you tell? Or would you go on living, loving, and dreaming, never knowing that none of it was ever real? And if you did find out, would you even want to wake up? The overview effect. Imagine you are floating in the vast emptiness of space, suspended between the infinite darkness of the cosmos and the brilliant blue orb of Earth below you. There is no sound, only the silent, endless expanse stretching in every direction. You look down at the planet that has been your home, the only place you have ever known, and suddenly, everything changes. This is the overview effect, a profound shift in consciousness experienced by astronauts when they see Earth from space. It is a moment of awe, of revelation, of transformation. From up here, there are no borders, no nations, no divisions, no wars. The conflicts that once seemed so immense, political rivalries, territorial disputes, cultural differences, fade into insignificance. The entire planet is one, a fragile oasis in the void, wrapped in a thin, glowing atmosphere that protects all life. You realize, with breathtaking clarity, that everything humanity has ever built, every story ever told, every moment of joy and suffering has taken place on this tiny, delicate sphere. And for the first time, you feel the full weight of what it means to be part of this world. Astronauts who have experienced this shift describe it as overwhelming, almost indescribable. They return to Earth changed, unable to see the world the same way again. The overview effect is not just a new way of looking at our planet, it is a new way of understanding ourselves. It is the realization that we are not separate from this world, not divided by imaginary lines drawn on maps. We are one species, bound together by the same fate, sharing the same fragile home. And yet, down on the surface, we forget. We get lost in the noise of daily life, in the illusions of separateness, in the battles we wage against each other for power, for land, for resources. We act as if the planet is infinite, as if we can exploit it without consequence, as if we are anything more than passengers on a fragile ship hurtling through the void. But from space, all of that seems absurd. There is no us and them. There is only Earth. There is only home. The overview effect is not just about seeing the world, it is about feeling it. It is about the sudden, overwhelming love for this planet and everything on it. The rivers and forests, the mountains and oceans, the creatures that roam the land and the people who live upon it, all of it is connected, a single living system. And in that moment of realization, something inside you shifts. The things that once seemed important, money, status, power, lose their grip on you. What matters is life. What matters is protecting this world for those who come after us. But the tragedy is that most of us will never experience this firsthand. We will never float in space, never see Earth as a distant jewel against the black void. We will never feel that sudden, breathtaking shift in perspective. And so, we remain trapped in our small, narrow views of the world. We continue to fight over borders that don't exist. We continue to poison the air we breathe and the water we drink. We continue to act as if we are separate from nature, rather than a part of it. Yet even without traveling to space, we can still glimpse the truth of the overview effect. We can pause. We can look at the sky, the trees, the oceans, and recognize that they are not separate from us, they are us. We can choose to see the world not as a collection of nations and ideologies, but as a single, fragile whole. We can remember that we are not owners of this planet, but caretakers. As you close your eyes tonight, imagine yourself floating above Earth, looking down at the only home we have ever known. Feel the vastness of space, the thinness of the atmosphere, the breathtaking beauty of our world. And ask yourself, if you could see the planet as it truly is, as a whole, as a living, breathing miracle, how would you live differently? Would you still hold on to hatred, to greed, to division? Or would you, like those who have seen Earth from space, return with a newfound sense of responsibility, of unity, of love? The temporal experience theory. Time, we live within it, measure it, and race against it. It shapes our lives in ways we barely notice, yet it remains one of the greatest mysteries of human existence. We assume time flows steadily, marching forward like an unstoppable river. But what if time isn't what it seems? What if our experience of time is nothing more than an illusion, a trick played by our own minds? This is the unsettling heart of the temporal experience theory, a concept that forces us to question not just how we perceive time, but whether time exists at all in the way we believe it does. Think about it. Why does time seem to crawl when you're bored, yet fly when you're having fun? Why does a painful moment feel like it lasts forever, while happy ones slip through your fingers before you can hold on to them? If time is an objective, unchanging thing, why doesn't it feel that way? The temporal experience theory suggests that the flow of time isn't something happening outside us. It's something our mind constructs. Time as we feel it is personal, subjective, and entirely different from one person to the next. Imagine two people experiencing the same event. One is immersed in it, loving every second. The other is restless and wants it to end. The clock says the same amount of time has passed for both, but did it really? For the first, time flew by in an instant. For the second, it dragged on endlessly. Their realities, though physically identical, were completely different. The truth is, time doesn't pass the way we think it does. Our brains distort it, stretching and compressing moments based on our emotions, focus, and even our age. When you were a child, summers felt endless, didn't they? Each day was a vast ocean of possibility. But now, as an adult, entire years seem to blur together. The reason for this, according to the temporal experience theory, lies in how our brains process memories. When we're young, everything is new and exciting. Our minds create rich, detailed memories. As we age, life becomes more routine, and our brains stop recording the same level of detail. When we look back, it feels like time sped up, not because time changed, but because we stopped noticing it. This theory digs even deeper when we consider extreme experiences. Ever heard someone say that in a moment of danger, time seemed to slow down? People who survive accidents often describe the world moving in slow motion, each second stretched out unbearably. Scientists believe this happens because the brain goes into overdrive, processing more information than usual. It's not that time slows down, it's that your mind speeds up, creating the illusion of slower time. But if time can feel slower, faster, or even freeze entirely in our perception, what does that say about its nature? The unsettling truth is that our sense of time might not reflect reality at all. Perhaps time isn't flowing past us, maybe we're creating it as we go. Some philosophers even argue that time doesn't exist in any traditional sense. They suggest that everything past, present, and future exists simultaneously, and our minds simply play life one frame at a time, like a movie reel. If that's true, then what does it mean for your memories? Are they truly in the past? Or are they still happening somewhere, forever locked in a different frame of existence? And what about the future? Is it really unwritten? Or is it already out there, waiting for your mind to catch up? The temporal experience theory forces us to confront an uncomfortable possibility, that time as we know it isn't a universal truth. It's a personal hallucination, shaped by our brains and bound to our limited understanding of the world. It suggests that the present isn't something we move through. It's something we create moment by moment, without even realizing it. So, as you drift off to sleep tonight, think about this. What if your life isn't moving forward at all? What if you're standing still, and time is just flickering around you, one illusion after another? What if the past isn't behind you, it's still happening somewhere, and the future isn't ahead, it's already waiting, frozen in place? Would you live differently, knowing that time might not be running out, because it never truly existed to begin with? The Baader-Meinhof Effect. Have you ever learned a new word, and then suddenly started seeing it everywhere? Or discovered a new song, only to hear it playing in stores, in commercials, on the radio? It feels almost eerie, as if the universe has conspired to flood your world with this new information, as if something invisible has shifted, and now you are being guided toward a hidden pattern you never noticed before. This strange, almost mystical experience is known as the Baader-Meinhof Effect, a cognitive phenomenon where something you recently encountered starts appearing frequently, giving the illusion that the universe is speaking directly to you. At first, it feels like a coincidence, something small, something curious. But as the pattern repeats itself, it starts to feel like fate, like some unseen force is guiding your attention towards something significant. You start questioning whether these things were always there, hidden in plain sight, waiting for you to notice them. Or did the world actually change? Did reality shift to accommodate this newfound awareness? It is a feeling both exhilarating and unsettling, the sense that there is an order beneath the surface of things, a hidden thread weaving through the chaos of everyday life. But the truth is, this effect is not the universe whispering to you, nor is it fate revealing itself. It is simply the way your brain works. Our minds are wired to detect patterns, to make connections, to filter the overwhelming flood of information around us, and focus on what seems relevant. When you learn something new, your mind assigns it greater importance, making you more likely to notice it. The world hasn't changed, your perception has. You are simply more attuned, more aware, more sensitive to a detail that previously existed in the background. And yet, knowing this doesn't make it feel any less strange. The Baader-Meinhof Effect is a reminder of how selective our awareness really is. Right now, in this very moment, there are countless details, words, faces, patterns swirling around you, unnoticed, unimportant till suddenly they aren't. Your mind, without your permission, will decide what matters, what stands out, what demands your attention. And in doing so, it will create the illusion that these things have just appeared, as if reality itself is bending to your awareness. This effect is both empowering and terrifying. It means that our reality is shaped by focus, that what we see and experience is not an objective truth, but a personal construct. What else then are we failing to notice? What hidden patterns are waiting for us to see them? How much of life is slipping by, invisible, simply because our minds have not yet decided to make it important? But here's where the effect becomes even more fascinating, because it is not just about random coincidences, it is also about belief. When we believe in something, when we fixate on an idea, when we immerse ourselves in a particular worldview, our minds start filtering reality to confirm it. Someone who believes in signs from the universe will begin to see them everywhere. Someone who fears bad luck will suddenly notice every small misfortune. Someone who obsesses over a conspiracy theory will start seeing evidence of it in everyday life. The Baader-Meinhof Effect is not just about noticing a word or a song, it is about how our perception of reality is shaped by our expectations. We see what we are looking for, we find what we believe in, and so the question lingers, what if we could harness this effect? What if, instead of letting our minds choose at random, we deliberately decided what to focus on? What if, instead of being trapped in the patterns of our past, we trained ourselves to notice new opportunities, new ideas, new paths? What if we saw beauty where we once saw boredom, possibility where we once saw limitation? If perception is reality, then perhaps the greatest power we have is the ability to shift our perception. As you drift into sleep tonight, think about the things you've been noticing lately. The words, the patterns, the moments that keep appearing in your life. Are they coincidences, or are they signs of something deeper? And more importantly, if your mind has the power to shape what you see, what would you choose to see more of? What reality would you create for yourself, simply by deciding to notice it?